Hello, my name is Bill Simcoe, and I work for the City of Albany, New York, and going to talk to you about operational and compliance benefits of real-time sewer monitoring. Um, Talking today about real-time monitoring and what we've been doing in Albany, New York. In the last 5 years, we've gone from minimal remote monitoring of sewage pump stations by autodialers to development of an extensive sewer SCADA system. In the last 5 years, we've increased our stormwater storage with our combined sewer system and control of this new storage using CMAC, continuous monitoring and adaptive control. In the last 2 years, we've installed satellite treatment facilities for floatables controls with a capacity of about 70 million gallons a day. Currently, we're constructing some major sewage pumping stations to remove State Office Campus and UAlbany Campus from contributing to combined sewer system and its overflows. And in the next 3 years, we will be finishing design and constructing of a major screening and disinfection facility to treat combined sewer overflows. So let's look at some background. This is a map of the city of Albany showing the sewer districts, the biggest of which is the Beaver Creek Sewer District, which is the red area in the middle. So we have a number of sewer districts. Some are combined sewers, some are separated sewers. Annual flow is about 28 million gallons per day, about 23 million gallons a day combined, and find 5 MGD separated sewers. So we'll be constructing a screening and disinfection facility of about 100 MGD capacity for the Beaver Creek Sewer District. The light blue area you see is the central area, and this is downtown Albany area where we've already constructed satellite treatment facilities for floatable control. Many of the projects undertaken in the last 5 years were part of an Albany Pool Community's long-term control plan, and this is an intermunicipal program with 6 communities that are working under a consent order to mitigate the effect of combined sewer overflow to the Hudson River. So the challenges, you're probably familiar with the challenges that sewer systems face. Here's some of ours. Mitigating surface flooding, combined sewer discharges during storms, reporting wet weather overflows to comply with the New York State Sewage Pollution Right to Know Act, complying with requirements for new development in our combined sewer areas, tracking dry weather flows and available dry weather capacity in our combined sewer system, planning sewer separation projects, a requirement of our Speedies permit, planning for flood mitigation, which has become more important with some recent intensive storms, developing flood mitigation measures for a higher level of service than we've had previously, and of course, finding the funds to do the projects that we need to do. Here's some pictures that show flooding Elbron Place, some flooding at the rear of Western Avenue and Quayle Street, flooding at New Scotland Avenue and Morris. In 2014, we had quite a bit of flooding in August 5th of 2014. To address the problems, we've had the approach of using green infrastructure practices, adaptive controls to optimize storage, continuous level monitoring at CSO regulators, monitoring of our trunk sewers, interceptor sewer, wastewater treatment plant, development of new city code requirements for stormwater management, and of course, trying to take advantage of New York State low interest loans and grants. So here's kind of our overall architecture of our remote monitoring efforts. At the top of it is ignition SCADA, and then we have various components of RTUs, traditional remote terminal units that are sending information directly into ignition, smart cover devices where we're monitoring levels in manholes for level flow, and OpDe CMAC systems where we're controlling stormwater storage and the discharge from stormwater storage remotely. Those are the main components reporting to a central SCADA system. This is what the first cover sheet of our sewer SCADA looks like. Some of the SCADA remote monitoring is just sewage pumping stations. We've got very many of them. Some of the monitoring is flow meters, including the wastewater treatment plant, which is run by the County of Albany. Through the sewer SCADA system, we're able to trend, and this is an example of one of our trends. Floatable control facilities that we've just put into practice recently are set up on the SCADA system. And this is like the overview screen for our smart covers. Now, over a period of time, we started with 3 smart covers. We had a smart cover on our the largest of our CSO overflow chambers to the Hudson River. We had one in the bad flooding spot of Elberon Place, and one at a sewage pumping station, which is on a different water body than the Crumpkill. We've added 12 more devices the following year. 2 were manholes on a county interceptor, 3 were trunk sewers, 1 was a virtual rain gauge central to the system. And then the following year, we added 13 more smart covers. 4 were on CSO overflows, 8 on trunk sewers, and 1 manhole on the county interceptor sewer. Many of these devices were deployed to support our design, construction, and startup efforts, and they help us to understand how the system operates. This chart shows the level of the Beaver Creek Big C overflow chamber. When you get to these red lines is when you're going to be overflowing to the Hudson River. So in real time, we're tracking what the level is in this chamber. And when we have an overflow event, we know in real time when we start to overflow and when we cease overflowing. This is a smart cover virtual rain gauge, and we've got multiples of these in our system so we can correlate levels in the sewer system with rain events. This chart shows a smart cover application on the 60-inch pipe in 29 Elberon Place. This is one of our hot spots for surcharging of the sewer system and to be watching for potential flooding. And this is the same chart, only the same location, only in this case, we're showing flow instead of level. And when we have our smart covers on the trunk sewers, we're using those to look at flows. And that is coming very handy when we're looking at needing to make repairs on trunk sewers and determining what amount of bypass pipe pumping is going to be required to do a repair. So this is our OpDe dashboard. We've got multiple locations now, 6 locations, including one for Quail Street for a green infrastructure project, Washington Park Lake, a Reichman constructed wetland, Hanson Storm Tech outlet, Albany High School, Lower Field, Upper Field, and West Lawrence. In all, we control about 10 million gallons of storage with the OpDe system. And in regard to Washington Park Lake, which is the largest stormwater storage, that automatically controls for events up to 1 inch, and for larger rainfall events, we can take some manual control to create some more storage. Along with the dashboards of the OpDe system, we can monitor the level in our storage systems. This is the portion that shows the lake level. We can monitor the outflow valve at each of the stormwater locations. In this case, it's closed because we're trying to build up some water to get back to normal water level. OpDe gives us a 48-hour precipitation forecast. So it's forecasting what volume is going to be needed in storage and compares that to the available storage, opens the outlet valve if we need to make more room for upcoming precipitation of that. We can monitor how much we have volume in storage and whether we have enough to cover the next upcoming event. We've got a rain gauge associated with the OpDe systems, and we have minutely data from the rain gauges. So we have real-time, minutely, precise information about rain. And we also have a site camera at some of our locations. This is the picture of Washington Park Lake in the snow. And we have a graph that tells us for events greater than 1 inch, how much we need to draw down the lake level in case we have a larger event. Normally events above about 2 inches would result in some flash flood warnings in Albany. So by having remote monitoring of our CSO collection system and the regulators, the trunk sewers, the county interceptor sewer, the flow at the wastewater treatment plant, we get operational intelligence. We see what are the normal operating levels, and we see the levels when the system is under stress. We get local rainfall readings instead of readings from some location miles away. We get warnings of upcoming rainfall events. We see whether our OpDe controls can handle these automatically or whether we need to take manual control. We get warnings that water levels are rising in the combined sewer system, so we can alert public safety if we think there may be flooding. And we can hold as much water back within this collection system as possible, release it slowly afterwards to reduce the amount of combined sewer overflow to the Hudson. So by having all of these remote monitoring and being able to trend and look at the data with an ignition, we get insights into maintenance. We see when things seem to be clogged. We get early detection so we can alert the public safety and other folks that we may need to detour if we're going to have flooding. And by using continuous monitoring and adaptive control, we optimize storage and we reduce what goes to the Hudson River. This is kind of showing the overview of how OpDe works. So it's got components, the major elements being a web-based interface, OpDe cloud-based software, National Weather Service forecasting as an input, a model of the hydrology of the upstream drainage area, a model of the storage and the characteristics of the storage, a rain gauge, a level sensor in the water level sensor in the storage to detect the level, and an actuated valve, plus communications link to provide the minutely data that's used by OpDe to control the outlet valve. Now, some of the storage that we've constructed within our system includes this Reichman Alley at constructed wetlands, kind of a nice addition to a city park. These are some pictures you see a picture of the outlet control valve. You see a picture when it was kind of newly established with vegetation. Another one of our systems is a underground storage underneath a Babe Ruth ball field. And this system is also going to be utilized as a cistern for irrigation of the ball field. Another one of our systems is the Washington Park Lake. And one of the advantages of using this CMAC approach is that we can maintain the normal lake level most of the time and only need to draw down the lake as needed for small events, or we can draw down larger amounts manually. But for the most part, we keep the lake at its normal level. Now this slide shows how we're able to import data from a variety of sources into Ignition SCADA, so that we can trend and see, we can see, in this case, we can see wastewater treatment plant flow from a traditional RTU, cumulative rainfall from our OpDe system, the level in our CSO regulator from our smart cover system, the Hudson River tide level from USGS data. Being able to review all this in one platform is extremely useful. This slide is showing a study we've been doing of a 30-inch sewer. Part of our long-term control plan for mitigation of CSO was to look at whether we had some additional capacity in the system we could use to. And a study of this 30-inch sewer found we did have capacity, and we now have it as one of the key elements in our long-term control plan, diverting some flow from Beaver Creek into this 30-inch sewer in an adjacent sewer shed. One of the built-in capabilities of the smart cover system is to do multi-graphs. And in this case, you see Big C regulator, or Beaver Creek, largest overflow location, and rainfall data and Hudson River tide level. So when we're trying to figure out high flows in the interceptor sewer and whether we have any backflow from the Hudson River, then we can refer to this to see whether tide is contributing to the level in the overflow chamber. And we can also refer back to our SCADA system in regard to wastewater flow data. So real-time monitoring provides a lot of benefits for better operations, maintenance, inspection. We get immediate identification, advance notice. So we don't find things accidentally. We see them because we've got remote sensing and alarms. We're able to use our available storage better, and we can identify that overflow is occurring so that operators can prevent discharge from the stormwater system. So if we're overflowing to the Hudson River, we're trying to hold water back from our OpDe systems. We can better maximize the flow to the wastewater treatment plant because we're sharing this real-time information with our county, Albany County Water Purification District, so they can make gate adjustments at their headworks. We also have this information to look at sewer extensions. So when we're looking at different parts of the sewer shed for development, we've got data to indicate whether we've got dry weather capacity. So optimizing control, I guess to summarize all the different things we've talked about, the City of Albany is deploying smart cover so that we're monitoring combined sewer overflow on a real-time basis. And that lets us report on what's referred to as New York Alert, which is our reporting monitoring system for the Sewage Pollution Right to Know Act. We're using CMAC, continuous monitoring adaptive control of OpDe system to maximize the use of our stormwater storage. We're using traditional monitoring systems and SCADA for floatable control facilities and sewage pumping stations, flow monitoring locations, integrating all of that into one platform so that we can trend and analyze the data. And from all this data collection, we've had a big impact in regard to review of capabilities for new facilities and mitigation of overflows. So all of this is made possible because the Albany Water Board and the Albany Municipal Finance Authority have been willing to uh, incur some new debt, and also the New York State, through its Environmental Facilities Corp and Department of Environmental Conservation, have made low-income financing and grants available. You see on this chart, uh, on the 5-year program that we're on at the moment, we have about $69 million worth of expenditures, and we have about $27 million worth of grants from Environmental Facilities Corp and New York State DEC. So we thank them very much for their support on these projects. And that's the end of my presentation, and I'd be glad to take questions if people have questions.
I did hear of a question about your Sewage Pollution Right to Know Act, and I know that that requires a response or reporting, I believe, within 2 hours. And my question for you is, could other utilities or cities comply with that act without the type of measures and automation and communications you've put in place? How would they do that?
Well, I believe that's within 2 hours of their realizing that they have an overflow. Now, if you don't have real-time monitoring, then that would seem to be a difficult. In some cases, some of the other communities that are part of our Albany pool communities are basing it on some probabilities of overflow and the modeling that was done as part of the long-term control plan. So they're reporting more on the basis of what the model would have said would have happened. But they're also doing it on the basis of rainfall information from Albany Airport, which uh, not many of the communities are close to the Albany Airport, and they may not have the same rainfall.
Okay. And another question is, this is a very well integrated, comprehensive program for other utilities who are looking at getting started who don't have the digital capabilities yet. How would you recommend starting?
Well, we started just with a phase 1 of our sewer SCADA system, with just a few sites with sewage pumping stations and a few sites with smart cover. And we built this capability over 5 years. So if you can start and get your SCADA platform going, and get your smart cover things going, and figure out what you want to do for a program for combined sewer overflow abatement, then where you need to go with your program will take you to what level of remote monitoring and data collection you're going to need.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And just a question on how the cities responded, or the general sentiment with those places where you had the extreme flooding. I know you remembered the exact date in August. Is the sentiment or confidence with citizens, real estate values, is there any way you would sum up what the impact there has been with the community?
Well, after that event, a couple of years later, we had flooding in another part of the city. And so that's leading us to do some engineering studies and some more evaluations in other parts of the city. So it's good to be able to point to places where we have some success and say, hey, we know we may never completely mitigate flooding problems, but we're able to increase the level of service, and we've done it over in this other part of the city, and we're gonna look at your area if you're having problems.
Well, and that's a wonderful thing. I think the way you've shared knowledge and also made your materials and your example readily available to all. And I see your email here. So if people email you. They could get sort of your examples, and also I think you did a lot with funding and the strategies to get funding there. Is there anything specifically that you'd like to recommend to those who haven't started yet?
Well, New York State, for those in New York State, there's a great opportunity right now to get low cost funding and grants, working with Environmental Facilities Corp and for grants working with DEC. It just it's really great. It's really a good time to be doing capital improvements because it's most affordable it's been in a long time.
Right, with new announcements even this week. So, yeah, well, Bill, it's always a pleasure to hear about your being on the front lines, innovating, but also creating a team that it seems works really well together. And the combination of the storage capacity with the smart cover monitoring and also this ignition SCADA, it seems like you've assembled just a great integrated solution that other utilities could benefit from, especially in this era of extreme weather events. So we at Global Waterworks really thank you for doing this. I know you were teed up to present at WEF Stormwater, and hopefully people will be able to download the manuscript there and learn more from you. So thank you very much for your time.